Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Joe St. George. He is the national political correspondent for Scripps, NewsChannel 5's parent company. Joe, to get back to some of the nominations you were talking about, the Merrick Garland nomination didn't become leaked to the press until the morning it was clear the Democrats were going to control the Senate. Does that mean he had a plan B if for some reason the Republicans had managed to maintain one or both of those seats?
Yes. You'll never hear that on the record from a Biden official, but you would have announced your pick for Attorney General before the Georgia runoff, unless you were waiting for those results. Look, I mean, this is twofold. It's a reward for Judge Garland because many Democrats believe that he was robbed of a Supreme Court seat so many years ago now. And this is an opportunity for him to have a high-profile job to finish his career. It also gives President-elect Joe Biden a chance to appoint a federal judge to a very key position. So, look, this was clearly a move that Democrats wanted to make, but they likely needed to control the Senate in order to make it.
In terms of what happened in Georgia, did President Trump either deliberately or inadvertently dynamite the Republicans' chances? I mean, that conversation he had with the Georgia Secretary of State where he was asking him to find votes, the fact that the president had people who were his supporters, his lawyers, going down and telling people, the Republicans, not to vote in the runoff election because the system was fixed, didn't he almost dynamite the Republicans' chances to keep those two seats?
You're right. I mean, there's a lot of blaming President Trump this past week. 99% of it is regarding the riots at the U.S. Capitol building. But I think because of that, we forgot how Republicans shouldn't have lost both races in Georgia. Georgia is not New York State or California. It's a purplish state. In fact, I would say it's still a purplish red state. So you now have to ask yourself, how did a purplish red state vote for a Democrat for president and two Democratic U.S. senators now? I mean, just a monumental shift in Georgia politics. And if you look at the numbers, it comes down to really this basic analysis: is that Democrats were able to turn out the vote in the places that they turned out the vote in November, but Republicans, particularly in rural parts of Georgia, did not vote in the numbers that they voted in November. Remember, President Trump has had a remarkable ability throughout his political career, albeit it's been a brief one, to turn out rural vote in ways that we have not seen in a long time in this country. And because of President Trump's constant bashing of the electoral system in Georgia, the bashing of the Republican governor, there's no question it had an effect on some Republicans, and they chose not to vote in the runoff.
Let's talk a little bit about the vaccines. We're off to a very slow start. Everybody was hoping this would be the light at the end of the tunnel to end this pandemic. 20 million people were estimated to be given the vaccine by the end of the year. We got more like 3 or 4 million. Vice President, the new president, Joe Biden's coming in to say he wants to do 100 million in his first 100 days. The government seems to be in a situation up in Washington where they are constantly on this virus over-promising and under-delivering. Is that ever going to stop?
You know, it's going to be interesting to see what changes with coronavirus and the pandemic come January 20th. It is obviously priority number one of President-elect Joe Biden. Of course, when you're president, you're always put into positions that you were not expecting, such as the Capitol riots. So we shall see. We seem to live in a time where every week there's multiple major news events, but the pandemic is still what is impacting every single person in this country. It's impacting you if you've lost a loved one, or if you've gotten sick and you lost your job, or you've been furloughed, or maybe you're a business owner, you just don't have as many customers and therefore you don't have much of a profit. So this is something impacting every American, and President-elect Biden knows this. What he does differently will be fascinating. You know, it's going to be difficult for him to come in and reverse immediately everything that President Trump did. And to be fair, he did some things correctly. I mean, Operation Warp Speed, the fact that we have a vaccine, right? He deserves some credit for that. And President-elect Biden has even said that the Trump administration deserves some credit for the fact that there has been this scientific marvel that even allows us to have a vaccine. But you're right, vaccine distribution is poor in this country. A lot of people are pointing to the fact that we need a much stronger public relations campaign to encourage people to get the vaccine. I know in some cities the issue is people are registered for a vaccine appointment, but they're not showing up because they don't necessarily trust the system. And then you, of course, have the dose issue. So there's a few things that are at President-elect Biden's disposal to use to perhaps speed up the process, but we shall see.
President-elect Biden certainly has his work cut out for him, but is the bottom line coming out of all the things that happened in Washington this week the fact that perhaps instead of undermining him, the Republicans and the president may have actually legitimized the new president a little bit more and maybe ticked up his support among the public and maybe in the Congress more than people thought when he was getting started?
You know, I was talking with some political science professors this week just about whether or not Republicans will be forced, perhaps, to pass some bipartisan pieces of legislation in response to everything that's happened this week, right? I mean, I think there is a patriotic duty that somehow swept the Capitol building and swept Congress following the riots. You saw that with a number of Republicans who were planning to object to the Electoral College results after the riots, not objecting. So I think there is an opportunity here where Senator Mitch McConnell, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, will perhaps want his caucus to vote with Democrats on a few issues.
Joe St. George, stay safe up there. You've still got the inauguration to cover, and that obviously will be another security issue to be dealt with, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Good to be with you. Happy New Year, sir, and let's hope that it gets better.
To your mouth, to God's ears. Thank you. That's Inside Politics for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get into politics in the meantime, go to the NewsChannel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.